All right, let's see what underground music you all sent me this week. We're going to get right into it with Panzer Creek 666 with Wolfpack. Sounds great. Super heavy black metal with a little bit of blackened death metal in there too. Getting some kind of Marduk vibes in there. I believe we've covered Panzer Creek 666 before. Yeah, I think we did Vasta Weiterung. Yeah, sounds awesome. The production is incredible too. Like, it's like that perfect, like everything's coming through cleanly, but it's still got that black metal like edge to it and ugliness. So yeah, I wouldn't change a thing about this, and it definitely gets me interested to listen to the whole EP, as you should. That is the point of this segment, is to just give you a little taste so you check it out on your own. Next up, we have Hetrem with Monster at Heart. So yeah, very groovy, progressive and melodic death metal, I would say. They're out of Bosnia, looks like, and Herzegovina. Probably not saying that properly. Another one starting strong here, really digging all the elements. The guitar work was great. There were some riffs that were really getting to me already, and I love that piano on the opening track too. I'm hoping that there's more of that on these other songs as well. Production, pretty strong, maybe not quite as the punch of Panzer Creek 666, but different style, so it suits it well enough. And yeah, another one, definitely intrigued, not seeing any like major feedback. The performances sound really good, so I'm hoping you find an audience for this. Awesome stuff. All right, we've got, Formørkelse with Avmorke og Ingenting. Not even close, but Norwegian is a difficult language. Pretty cool. Hearing a very sort of traditional kind of second wave black metal sound here, more raw production, but mixing in a lot of those elements that they did in the 90s with some of the acoustic kind of folkier elements. You got some like ambient stuff at the beginning that made me think of like Zastler, or also, if we're going further back, Ulver. Also, the synth elements sounded really cool, like a lot of kind of like dark medieval times energy on some of that coming through too. And again, I think the production sort of suits the style. I'm interested in whether these songs can actually like maintain my engagement. Like we got an 11-minute one here, and for black metal, that's often a turn off for me, but not always. You got bands like Oculus that can carry me for 15-20 minutes sometimes. It just depends on the songwriting. But yeah, sounds pretty cool. All right, we have Cosmic Jaguar back with El Era del Jaguar. I forget how do you pronounce that in because the J is like an H sound, right? I'm so bad because I live in a partially Spanish speaking household. In fact, honestly, I'm in the minority here where they can speak fluent Spanish, and I really should be learning more of it. But I'm lazy, and I listen to music instead of doing my Duolingo like I should, like a good boy. But anyways, let's listen to the latest from this Ukrainian group. Sounds super rad. They call themselves avantgarde technical thrash. Very kind of like psychedelic even at times. It reminds me a bit of it's a band, is it Sadism? They have an album called Hyena that brings in some of these more kind of like regional elements too. And I love their whole like kind of like Aztec theme that they've got going, which is so interesting for a group from Ukraine. But yeah, that's definitely makes them stand out. I heard some people singing the praises of this album too when I put up my like end of June video, and honestly this sounds like it would have easily been good enough to make the best of May is at the time of recording. It's still just early June, so you probably watch this much later than that. But yeah, this easily could have made best of May just based on what I'm hearing right now. And maybe I'll find a place for it somewhere at some point in a longer format, because this sounds excellent. Wouldn't change a thing. Love the bass sound. The production's awesome. Just really kind of stand out. Just different sounding stuff, and I'm always looking for that. So I will definitely need to put some time aside to actually listen to this whole thing. All right, we have Arhat with Secrets of Ancient Gods, also from Ukraine. That sounds rad too. And I did not plan to have 2 Ukrainian bands back to back that both just happen to be borrowing imagery and sounds from other regions. This one being obviously much more kind of Egyptian themed. You could throw in some like Nile comparisons in there, but I'd also say like Al Namrud. Overall sound, I would say, is kind of like a mix of like thrash, groove, and a little bit of melodic death metal in there too. Might even say like early, if you combine like early Lamb of God with Nile. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. I think the production could be a little bit more full, but I'm loving again like the regional elements that they're throwing in. Yeah, another cool, unique listen, and I'm intrigued to hear more. I wish there were like 5 of me so that we could like listen to all of these albums in full, but it's just not possible, people. I have a full-time job and a family, so I do as much as I can. All right, we have Boneripper with World Ablaze. Alright, so definitely a mix of like metallic hardcore with some groove metal. I was thinking about Hatebreed a lot listening to that. I mean, that if I would be very surprised if that's not at least on some level of an inspiration, because a lot of similarities to draw there. And they do a really good job with it. I like the strength of the vocals. The grooves are great. You might see me bobbing my head along. I don't do that for the camera. It happens when it happens. If I'm just sitting here stationary, that's what happens too. I'm not going to put on for you. It is what it is with these videos. Out of the Netherlands too, which is kind of, I don't know if I've heard too many groups sounding quite like this out of that region, which is always kind of neat. Yeah, overall, no, it's been a good day where like I haven't had like major feedback for any of the bands. I usually have something, but I don't know. It sounds good. Just get it out there. The only piece of feedback nitpicking I have is my usual one of like with your Bandcamp page. Maybe I hate white background. I think most people do. Match it to your color scheme here a little bit more. Do a black background with some like orange, fiery looking text. I think that would make this page just pop a little bit more, look a little bit more professional. But other than that, y'all are doing a good thing. Sounds heavy. Dig that. All right, we have Enter the Villain with This Heretic Made out of Nova Scotia. Okay, so just like the last one, I'd be really surprised if they weren't inspired by Hatebreed. I would be shocked if these guys don't at least have Gojira as an influence, because there's a lot of that coming through in some of this guitar work, and even some of the positioning of the vocals. Yeah, just that kind of style of progressive death metal is again, just the sampled vibe I'm getting. It could be listening to the whole album. Gives a different vibe, but based on what I heard, that's the direction with this one. And yeah, again, I think it, based on that, sounds cool. I will say, again, kind of nitpicky, I don't feel like this cover like conveys what the music sounds like. And I think that especially in this like Spotify era where, you know, a cover can make or break somebody potentially catching something like this that they wouldn't otherwise know about. Like, people will forgive a shitty album cover from a band that they know and love, but if you're kind of, you know, just getting yourself out there, that can be a big deal. Similar, this too, like, I look at this and I think like Every Time I Die. Like, that's what I'd expect when I listen to this. So just some little things to think about from a more marketing standpoint, but musically sounds rad. All right, we got, God, Zvilpogghua with Temple of the Maimed Sphinx out of Ohio. Y'all are from Ohio, and you got to give me a name like that? Come on. Come on. Alright, so our first, much more experimental group for the day, which I'm always down for that. Kind of like just electronic, but like avant-garde electronics. Reminds me a little bit of like a weirder take on like Kevin Key's solo work. Even some of this artwork kind of reminds me of that a little bit, but definitely more strange. I love when bands do these little like short bios that are kind of cryptic. So it just says Gutiaroli squamous fecundity. Yeah, interesting. Just exploration of weird fiction atmospherics related to stuff. So yeah, weird one. It sounded cool though. I mean, got me moving, got me interested in kind of where this is all going. Not something I could see myself definitely like listening to regularly, but I always like a curveball thrown in there. So you want something a little bit different, then this is going to be the one for you, for sure. And as far as like production and everything goes, sounded pretty neat to me. All right, we have Clear Clover with Spectate out of Montreal. So this sounds pretty sounds pretty school, man. It sounds cool because I feel like, yeah, we ventured into like the more experimental part of the segment here, not by design, it just sort of happened, but they say that they're trying to find common ground between heavy music and blissful ambient, and I think they're nailing it. I'm loving that like really full, just backing ambient element that reminds me of this may be a weird comparison, but everyone ever remember playing Bomberman 64? Like, there's a lot of like breakbeat music on that soundtrack too, but then there are these more kind of like blissful, atmospheric kind of elements that I feel like I can hear from my childhood. And it's like that, but then mixed with like the gent guitar work and it sounds really cool. I might be interested to hear vocals thrown into the mix, but I'm not opposed to instrumental music. It has its place too. And so, yeah, another good one. We haven't had a bad one in the bunch today. And feedback wise, again, like maybe just mess with the page a little bit. You've already done some of it. And the white kind of works for this one, but that's neither here nor there. The music sounds really cool. It's just, it's on you all, the audience, to share this stuff out if you think it sounds cool. Let other people hear it too. All right, we have Bach with Metastasis Dei out of also Netherlands. Kind of interesting where it's like this mix of black metal with kind of like, I don't know, like sludgy undertones. The main thing that was coming towards me towards the end, because I was trying to figure out like what would I compare this to. Cobalt, I think, is the biggest thing that comes to mind. Even the album art reminds me a little bit of Cobalt, but yeah, that's probably the closest thing I can come up with. This is another one though where I feel like I'd really have to listen to it from start to finish to really get a sense of what's all in there, because I was hearing some kind of variance from song to song in terms of what's going on, but overall this kind of like sludgy black metal that you got me intrigued. I mean, that's the main thing. You want to get people interested, so hopefully the other people here are interested too. All right, we have Anachronist with The Fall of Opulence. So some pretty grim, more kind of like depressive sounding black metal, I would say. Elements of like maybe Toke in there, but I think my one criticism of this one is based on just skipping around it. It may be that I'm missing big transitions and things like that, but repetition is a concern of mine, because with black metal, when it's like the same riff or like a same kind of variation on a riff over and over again, that gets really dull to me. But that's just me. I know plenty of people who love that. They love the kind of like more monotonous droning quality of it, and it sort of adds to the overall atmosphere and aesthetic for them. So different strokes. I am not the master opinion here, which is something I state all the time, and then I still get people somehow trying to criticize me for that. But it's just like, bro, opinions are opinions. That's what it comes down to. But overall, I think for what it's going for, it sounds pretty good. Production sounded pretty solid, and definitely in line with plenty of other artists. I think that's the other thing, though, is there are a lot of other bands doing similar things. So the key for you is going to be mostly how do you get it to the right audience, and how do you try to stand out at least somewhat from the waves of other similar people out there. All right, we have Reva with Urban Madrigals. So this Italian band calls themselves post-black metal, and it's kind of an interesting take on that, because I feel like most post-black metal, it like tends to lean more into the aesthetic of the like post-metal and post-hardcore kind of stuff, and then the black metal is like kind of just woven into it. Here it feels like the opposite. It's like much more kind of black metal aesthetic, but then it ventures into these kind of more post-metal elements from what I'm hearing. Vocals, I'd have to hear more. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on them, but they stand out, so there's always something to be said about that. And interesting artwork too for this. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm a little bit like perplexed by this one, and I don't know exactly why, because it's not like confusing. It's just like there's something about it where my brain is still trying to decide like what it thinks about it overall. But overall, like I always give props for things that sound a little different, and I don't think I've heard many post-black groups that sound quite like this one. And then we have Black Wine Order back again with Spleen House. I'm vibing to that. Like this would be something I would definitely throw on while I'm driving or doing some work. Like it's definitely put me in a good headspace. Lots of cool grooves to it. Sort of the vibe I was getting was like if the Prodigy made a house music album. And maybe they have. I don't know. I haven't checked in enough about that. I'm a fat of the land kind of guy myself, where it's a little bit more aggro. But yeah, just a lot of like house music, but then also like electronic, a little slight industrial elements in there too. And then they're from France, obviously, as if you couldn't tell from some of the spoken word stuff that they mix in there, but kind of hypnotic, well produced. And yeah, again, not something I definitely see myself like repeatedly listening to like really pay attention to, but something I'd really enjoy having on while I'm doing something else. And with that, I think that's a good one to go out on. That was a lot of new stuff for you to check out. Please, by all means, share these artists out. If you had an album or two from this list that you really enjoyed, share it with other people in various Discords you're on, face-to-face, word-of-mouth is everything to bands like that, and that's what this segment is about. And if you want more of this, you're newer here, we've got a whole playlist of, I don't even know how many episodes of this I've done at this point. And also you can subscribe. I do videos at least twice a week. Aside from these, I also do more kind of formal lists and tier list rankings and things like that, so you can check that out. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.